Good afternoon. My name is Hamam Toozwa, and I'm taking you for information technology today. Today, we are continuing with systems technology, and we are going to look at the following. That is number one, define and describe virtual reality and its advantages, as well as its uses. And then number two, define and describe augmented reality and its advantages. These two concepts are part of new technology that is being developed these days, and you may discover that if you are using the study opportunity, IT's grade 12, these sections are not included. But fortunately, they are included in the new ebook. So you are free to consult that book for more information. Right, what is virtual reality, VR in short? We can define it as an artificial environment or a computer-generated simulation of a three-dimensional image or environment. So this is an artificial environment that we are dealing with. And you may say, what is the purpose of this? Number one, mostly for gaming. Gaming these days, they use virtual reality application and virtual worlds so that the player can feel as if he or she is participating in a real world thing. Number two, in military, it's used for training simulation, so soldiers can train for combat situation, and also the same way they can feel as if they are in the battle itself. So it gives the users a chance to feel both emotionally, and if there is any situations that can be frightful, they are able to feel it because it's as if it's happening in real life. Thirdly, for education purposes, so that large groups of students can interact in a virtual classroom with supporting data. Gone are the days where education is paper-based. It can be virtual as well. In healthcare systems, doctors and nurses also learn new skills, e.g. surgery simulation, phobia treatment, robotic surgery, and skills training. So when they engage in virtual reality in a lab, it's as if they are operating on a real person. So it's all to do with experience, perception, and then it makes it easy for the doctors to understand what's really going on if it was a real situation. It's used as well in the entertainment industry. For example, interactive theme parks, virtual museums, and theater, especially these days with COVID-19. It's difficult for students, even for adults, to visit museums. So on the internet now, there are lots of these museums in 3D, which if you have the required hardware, you are able to visit and you would feel as if you are at the physical museum itself. They are used also in the fashion and design industry. For example, avatars are used to help with clothing design, and virtual stores can be created. Then as heritage, for example, visitor centers like Terracotta Army are being created in a virtual world so that the site can be protected from tourism. In telecommunications with smartphones, apps are being developed daily, which can be used by students to start situations that are given on paper, but they would appear as if it's in real life. For instance, when you are dealing with the circulatory system, there are apps that simulate how the heart pumps the blood, how the muscles open and close, thereby letting blood in and out of the heart. And then you can see it as if it's in real life. In the entertainment industry as well, we have interactive theme parks and theater. Then in the sports industry, it's used to measure and analyze athletics. In business, companies, organizations these days, they train new employees and provide virtual tours of the business environment. Rather than to call someone to come physically to view the place of work after an interview, the person can simply have a virtual tour and can feel or can have emotions about the new place that the person is going to be working from. And this would appear as if it's in a real world. In engineering also, virtual reality is used by engineers to view their project virtually to understand how it works, to spot any flaws and potential risks before implementations. Even these days, in the construction industry, before maybe a building is erected, they put the concept in virtual form, and then you can see the buildings, how they would look, the car parks, everything associated with that property is modeled in a form that you would feel as if the physical place has already been erected, but it's all to do with virtual reality. And then media also, they use it in the production of more realistic films. Gone are the days also where we have 2D cartoons. Most media companies in the film industry, they have resorted to characters that are in 3D format, and the viewer using virtual reality can interact with the objects as if, again, in real life. Then in scientific visualizations, which uses computer graphics to show abstract or complex ideas, to show concepts like, scientific concepts like the molecular model. Difficult to visualize this, but if you are given a chance to virtually view how the molecule looks like virtually, it would be easy to understand the concept. What hardware is needed and what software is needed for this to work? Number one, the hardware that is needed, you require computing devices such as a PC, a console that is for games, and a smartphone. So these are used to process and power the inputs and outputs sequentially. There is also need for input devices. These input devices, now, if it's a game, it's for playing, and then also you need these inputs for navigation and for interaction with the environment, that is the VR, virtual reality environment. So you need, for instance, for games, you need joysticks, force balls, you need tracking balls, you need controller wands, data gloves, trackpads, on device control buttons, and then you also need motion trackers, body suits, treadmills, and motion platforms so that you can interact with the environment. You also need output devices which present the VR content or environment to the users and this includes visual, auditory, and haptic displays. So virtual reality, we'll see, combines visual and auditory, and then all the other emotions that are involved when you are watching or when you are interacting with a real life object. But as concerns the five senses, it involves visual and auditory senses. Does it have any advantages or disadvantages? Yes, it has advantages. Number one, it provides learning experiences that cannot be found from reading books, as it immerses you in that world. So reading a book is almost a thing of the past, as that content that we have in the book can be remodeled into real life objects. And then this leaves the user to describe it according to the way he or she sees it, not according to the way the writer of the book sees it. So you can see the object in real life as if in real life, and then you are able to describe how it works, how it looks. Number two, it makes learning funny and can eliminate the language barrier and certain dangers associated with scientific experiments. So if you are interacting, for instance, with a radioactive, maybe particle, instead of being in the lab exposed to that particle that can affect your health through radiation, you can do it using virtual reality, and then we have the object, and then you can interact with it as if in real life. Then it also can be used as a training tool in many areas of life and can provide remote access, e.g. for surgery, which can be performed in remote locations using robotic technology and virtual reality. So in situations where sometimes it's difficult or it's very dangerous for humans to operate, doctors can use virtual reality to control robots to perform life-threatening, maybe we can say life-threatening tasks. Are there any limitations for this technology? This is new technology. They are bound to be limitations. What are they? Number one, the software for virtual reality is limited. It's ongoing. Production of this type of software needs expertise, and it's an ongoing thing. Number two, it is inflexible as it cannot go out of the VR scope. So whatever you are interacting with, it's only understood in the VR scope. You cannot draw, you cannot print whatever is produced from that software. Right? It cannot simulate a real classroom where learning fluctuates. So remember, the software is following an algorithm. And these algorithms, if you compare with the real life, let's say, for instance, at the school, the teachers, they need to understand the learners. So whatever you give to a learner depends on how the learner accepts instruction or how the learner understands concepts. We follow a method in which each learner is treated on an individual level, where you should know the abilities, the capabilities, and also you need to know what the learner cannot do. It's not a situation where we can force an elephant to climb a tree. or a fish to breathe out of the water. So this system doesn't take all that into consideration. It's one glove fits all. So there is no flexibility, and then it cannot simulate real life situations in some cases. But in some cases, it can. Virtual reality can be addictive. That's one of the, now this one is a disadvantage, and detrimental to social connections, as it is not real life, only an imaginary world. So you are introduced to an imaginary world where things that in real life don't happen, and then in that imaginary world, they can happen. And then sometimes users, they end up getting addicted to this technology. And what does that mean? In the end, they become beings that are not sociable, that cannot connect and relate to the real world. Everything they do becomes imaginary. Right, the second concept is augmented reality, AR. And then this one, technology that superimposes a computer-generated image onto a user's view of the real world. So the two of them, they are related. It provides a composed 3D view that provides full immersion. So both of these two are almost related. And this is part of content that I said in the theory exams in paper 2, you get them as new technology. And probably like what I said earlier, you won't be able to get this from the edition of the books that we are currently used, unless if you get the new MTN free ebook. Right, how is it used and where? Number one, in product view, allows customers to view and interact with products or services before purchasing them. So if you want to buy a car, you will be able to use augmented reality to view and interact with the vehicle. If you want to buy any product, you are able to test it, but virtually. Number two, enhanced content. Now, this one allows users to embed various types of data onto content. People can point their devices to a real-life object to learn whatever kind of information is necessary, instead of needing to search for it elsewhere. So there is lots and lots of content on the internet where you can simply print and we have a hard copy. Then after installing an app on the smartphone, you simply point the camera, maybe just to focus on the picture, and then it creates that world in a virtual form. And then if there are animals moving, you can see the animals moving as if it's in real life. This is one of the advantages of augmented reality. Number three, for training purposes, it enables users to train employees more thoroughly than they can through documentation and meetings. Same as virtual reality. This is very, very good for training because the employees or the users who are being trained can get a more depth understanding of whatever content they are being taught. Then in productivity, the software also enables users to improve workflow and processes at their business. Then you can engage your audience. Now, people these days are inundated with print and television adverts every day. You are watching a movie, unless if you go obviously on the cloud and then you start using Netflix, then you won't have an advert in the middle of a movie, right? So people have been exposed to this print and television media campaign to a point where they don't pay much attention to them. They just happen, and then you won't be able to pay attention. But with augmented reality, if it's incorporated in a, maybe we can say a television program, then it's bound to catch your attention. And then what is this technology used for? Number one, product view, then enhance content, which allows users to embed various types of content into data. And then we have to train employees. We have looked at this one. And then this software also enables users to improve workflow and processes in their business. And then for engaging with the audience. And then what are the hardware and maybe software requirements? What are they? Hardware requirements. And then later we will look at probably software requirements. Number one, you need Bluetooth connectivity or Wi-Fi. Wireless connectivity is essential. Then you need a device that offers you field of view in 3D. So you need a device that is capable of presenting output in 3D. Number three, you need an onboard storage capacity. Number four, an onboard operating system and web browser. Browser is needed as well. And then inputs, outputs, that is the buttons, the eye tracking. And then you have, if it's for games, you need joysticks, then you need accelerometer. All these are input devices. And then you need also the devices to have capacity to either use the microphone or sound for the sound output. Right, then it also needs to be able to display the VR content. Then visual tracking is also a must, because some of the simulations, situations, or environments that are given would need to detect eye movement. Then what is the software required for this? This works in conjunction with devices such as tablets, phones, headsets, and many more other devices that are connected, or that can be used to connect to the internet. These integrating devices contain sensors, digital projectors, and hence they require the following. Number one, an appropriate software that enables computer-generated objects to be projected into the real world. So there is need for a software that can enable computer-generated objects to be projected into the real world. Number two, onboard operating system and user interface to support the software and also the web browser. So the software, the operating system will depend on the device. So if it's a tablet, it can either be iOS or it can be Android. Smartphones the same. If it's a Windows machine, right, it can have Windows operating system. So the operating system depends on the device. Then thirdly, it allows allows the user to use API links to other databases and websites to display information. And then does this technology, VR, augmented reality, have any advantages? Yes, there are advantages. And these are now, number one, to get or enhance creativity. So there is enhancement or improvement in terms of creativity. Number two, to provide a new product experience. So if you interact with a product before you buy it, you may decide, depending on how you feel, to like it or not. But mostly, if the product is modeled according to AR, augmented reality, then it's bound to arouse your interest and you will end up buying it. Then you will be able to preview the product visually. Visually, you will be able to view the object. Then you are also able to build a real-time data experience using AR, and then enjoy experiential experiences. Then functional uses as a demo. You can create something as a demo and then you distribute it, and then the clients, your clientele, is able to see how the product functions and how it looks and how it's used. There are limitations though. Number one, when it comes to rendering digital data into meaningful graphics, it needs lots of resources such as RAM, memory, and powerful graphics card, and also powerful processors. The other limitation, scaling digital data to be suitable with the perspective of a visual field. So data needs to be scaled to a certain digital format. So it depends now also with the hardware that we have and its performance. Then in smartphones, AR must work with limited storage. That's one, again, of a disadvantage with smartphones. Small processing power and small amount of memory. So when you are coming up with such products, you need to take into account the requirements or what the end user has, because it doesn't make sense to come up with a product that will end up not being able to load on a user's smartphone. The last part is visualization, and then this refers to running multiple computing environments called virtual machines on a single set of hardware. A virtual machine is not a physical machine. It's a computing device that can offer all the processing techniques that allow you to use your CPU more effectively. And examples that we have studied already, we have multitasking, in which a single processor splits its time between different processes. And then we have multiple threading. Now, this is the ability of a program to split into multiple different tasks. As an example, if you are working with Word, it's able to do a spell check. It's able to conduct other tasks while you are using it. That is multi-threading. And then multi-processing, use of many processors to complete tasks. Right. In terms of the virtual machine, we have it has its own CPU, RAM, operating system software, and storage space, and treated in the same way as a real computer. Virtual machines, their use, number one, for testing different operating systems and software. So if you want to test, you are making a program for Android, and you have to program it in a Windows environment. Like, for instance, if you are using Android Studio, it offers you a function to add a virtual machine. Maybe it could be a virtual Android smartphone, where if you want to test your application, you just run it and then it runs on the computer as if it's running on a smartphone. So virtual machines are used for testing different operating systems and softwares. Even if you are using Mac OS, you are able to test or even you are able to run a Windows-based program on a Mac OS. That is, if you have created a virtual machine there. Then it's used for cloning computers, for hosting cloud applications, and allow multiple people to use the same computer at the same time. Then it has benefits as well. Number one, less expenditure in terms of hardware. You won't have any need to buy more servers. You won't need to have storage and desktops. Virtualization can release assets and in way saves capital and operational expenditure. And also in terms of the need to employ experts for server management, you end up not needing the services of such. So in a way, you are saving in operational expenditure. Then it can reduce the number of software licenses that are needed because you can use it to share software. And then instead of having to purchase individual licenses, you are able to just share on a virtual machine, and then you save money as well. So it has that advantage of giving you less expenditure in terms of the money used, right? In terms of assets, you save assets. Server virtualization supports multiple applications to operate on a single physical server, enabling the same access to be better utilized. Right. Then in terms of green IT, we use lots and lots of energy to run computers. And then not only that, lots of printing on paper means forests are being destroyed. And in the way fossil fuels are being used to process the paper, and the gases are expelled into the atmosphere, thereby creating the greenhouse effect and also global warming. So virtualization, since it reduces the number of computing devices, physical computing devices, it means it's going to save a lot in terms of energy, in terms of creating a clean environment where we do not have much e-waste. Benefits for data recovery. Options include building a high availability and disaster recovery process. And then long-term benefits deals with the change in basic infrastructure and where you save money, and then establishing a new foundation for ongoing developments and reducing operational costs and greenhouse gases. So that brings us to the end of software technologies with these three concepts, that is virtual reality, augmented reality, and virtualization. Right, so we are going to look at a few questions, and some of these questions, they are from the past papers. Specifically, we have the 2019 paper 2. So there is on the matching columns, we have 3 questions. And then question number 1, it's a hardware and or software that monitors the traffic between a computer and the internet to safeguard against security breaches. Then of these options, that answer should be firewall. Firewall, it prevents unauthorized access into a computer system. Then number 2, a type of malware that self-replicates over a network. Now this one, it replicates over a network without the need of a host file. Now this one is called a computer worm. Right, then a type of backup whereby backup files are made only of new files and files that have been modified since the last backup. So this does not change whatever has been backed up before. So it adds only if there is something new that is being added into a file. So we term this incremental backup. It's not a full backup, because if with a full backup, you are replacing whatever you have with a new file. Whereas this one, the incremental, it only adds to what is already there. So the first one, the answer is E, which is firewall, and then G, second one, computer web, and then A, incremental backup for number 3. Now, based on question 2.8, also of the same year, 2019, the learners want to release their educational apps as a freeware, but there are many other types of software licenses, such as shareware. And then it says, explain what the use of shareware entails, right? So this was a 2-mark question. So limited features, full version subject to time limit. That's what we have on a shareware. And then licenses must be bought to use the full version. And then available as a trial version. And then this is mostly, if you go to the internet, try before buying. And then number 2, many software development companies use the SaaS distribution model, software as a service. And then it says, explain how it works. Now, this one, it works mostly on a subscription fee paid either per month or per year. If you don't pay, then you won't have access to the software. Then number 1.2 says, many software, okay, this one, let's see. Okay, then name one advantage of the use of SaaS. Now we are looking at the advantages. Number 1, user always gets the latest version of the software. It's one of the advantages. You don't have to be worried about updating. You only pay for what you use. It's scalable, and then processed in another place like cloud server, another location. You don't have to worry about space on your computer. Then saves storage space, no need to install on a hard drive, and then no need for backups because it's done on the cloud, and then accessible on different devices and location. So even if you lose your device, you can access your application. Even if you change the operating system, you can still get it. Now then, this question, cybersecurity is very important, especially for freelancers who often rely on the internet to save and process their data, right? Malware threats can be reduced by updating your software, and then state any 2 types of software that should be updated. Number 1, anti-malware products, antiviruses, they need to be updated. Operating system needs to be updated. The firewall needs to be updated. The firmware, that is BIOS, needs to be updated. Web browser as well, it needs to be updated. And then product specific updates, it depends with the product that you are using. And then cyber security also, we are continuing the same question. And then malware threats can be reduced by updating the software, and then explain each type. Now we are basing on what we have answered already, right? So we take malware, antivirus products, to allow for newer forms of malware to be detected. That's why it has to be updated almost, maybe we can say 2, 3, or 5 days or per week. And then to allow other software, malware exploits bugs or weaknesses in the security of the software. That's why you need even to update Windows, so that it helps to fix software bugs. Then ransomware, what is it? Malware that locks and encrypts data devices until a ransom is paid. This one is unlike antiviruses. This one, we have to pay for your data to be unlocked. And then malware makes data devices unavailable. That's what it does, ransomware. And then the money must be paid to make data accessible or decrypt data. Right, web developers need to guard against many types of cybercrime. Right, that's based on the 2019 paper again. Explain the concept DDoS attack. This is an attack that makes a website unavailable by using thousands of computers botnet to request data from the site at the same time, overloading the system. So this is like bombarding a server with messages such that the server can no longer cope and then it crashes. This is distributed denial of service. Distributed denial of service. And then give the term used for an amateur programmer who modifies virus template and then releases it. This one is called, this is a KIDIS. It's called a KIDIS. There's something wrong there. It's called a KIDIS. And then this brings us to the end of the presentation. And then next, we'll be still looking at social implications and then consolidating work that has been done and also concentrating on past exam papers. So in terms of resources, we have used the free ebook, which can be found on the link that we have here, and also from the Start Opportunities IT is grade 12. This brings us to the end of the lesson.